So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, whatever part of the world you're currently listening to our podcast and video blog. This is the shorter version of our video blog on Basic Economics TV via our YouTube channel. Today's May the 26th, a few more days before we're going to be officially in the summer months of June. Okay, folks, it's going to start to get warm outside. So, if you guys are close to a body of water, I would suggest to start preparing your bathing suits and floating devices so that you guys can cool off during the summer months. And if you're not near a body of water, I suggest you stay indoors or go up the mountain and enjoy yourself under the shades of the trees. Okay, folks. So I just want to wish everybody a belated happy Memorial Day. Okay, I'm so thankful that I was able to share some time with our veterans and um, connect with various service public servants throughout Virginia, and kind of commemorate the sacrifices and contributions and the dedications of our service members to protecting our country, regardless where it is they were born or the color of their skin or their national origin, religion. They serve in our military and they all ought to be honored accordingly, equally as citizens. With that said, folks, I'm going to kind of transition on um, my previous video blogs, which was mainly regarding Nancy Mace's bill that she introduced recently regarding public service. In her views and opinions and overall wisdom, quote unquote wisdom, only US born citizens should be allowed to serve our country in public office and engage in a public discourse regarding the direction and destination and future of our country in all her wisdom and intellectual ability. I used to think that she was able to think, you know, fairly logically and somewhat makes sense. I used to think of her that way, and I supported her many times on several of her bills that she has introduced. That will most likely affect not just her home state, but the whole country. So anyway, I was floored when I heard that she wanted that basically to create a law that would only qualify US born citizens. Okay. So, what if your parents were working or serving overseas with the military and you weren't born on US soil, but you're an American citizen? You just happen to live overseas and maybe you were born in a base somewhere overseas. Does that disqualify you to run for public office in the US, in America? Should that, single you out, given that you don't really have any control over where you're born? You have control over your policy, anything that you do, decisions you make, you have control over all those things, but not where you were born. You can be born off of some island that has no, you know, legal authority in terms of sovereign rights as a country, okay, and later become a U.S. citizen. And yet, they, according to Ms. May, she shouldn't be allowed to run and participate in public service. Okay, so I just kind of want to talk a little bit about this because basically, essentially, she's taking the rights and privileges of being a citizen and for wanting to serve your country away from you just because of the location on the map or in the planet on which you were born in. So that kind of dissolve equal protection and civic equality in our country, you know, uh, shared national allegiance as Americans, you know, it's simply beyond me. I don't quite understand what her logic is. Okay, folks. To me, by creating a separation of classes of citizens, uh, creates this discriminatory practice, which is already well preserved in America. Racism, discrimination, marginalization is already well practiced in America. So essentially, what she wants to do is amplify that, making it even stronger so that there's going to be an even greater divide among Americans. Okay. I don't know if you guys realize this, but 99% of our decision makers in America are US born. So 99%, all right, folks. And there's that 1% that barely makes it, barely gets appointed or elected because they have to climb a much steeper hill compared to those that are gliding into power, into authority, into office, into in our government. So that 1% will now have to even climb a steeper hill just so that they can serve our people, our country. Okay. So uh, to me, you know, it's extremely problematic to base our electoral, agenda. Because I myself, I am a politician. Okay, so I've run as a Republican. To me, her bill does not reflect unity. It basically tells those that aren't born in the country that you're insignificant and you shouldn't be allowed to serve. Now, I kind of understand why she decided to promote this kind of concept due to the fact that she was fighting with a Democrat public official, and she's been trying to get that public official to be removed. But you know what, folks, corruption and disjointed public policy in our country permeates and are visible from both sides. So why don't she just go ahead and keep on trying to have that corrupt politician expelled rather than painting a broad picture of everyone that weren't born in the US as corrupt, as untrustworthy, and shouldn't be allowed to serve their country. Okay, folks. So public institutions must serve all Americans without arbitrary, distinctions. So that should also be the case for our elected officials. There shouldn't be any form of uh, isolation to public service. Okay, but to me, it seems like Ms. Mays uh, does not understand the concept of civic equality and shared national allegiance, as well as equal citizenship. I don't think she understands equal protection, um, and simply very dangerous, in my opinion, for her to even promote that kind of law. Okay, folks. Again, I used to support her. I used to trust her judgment, but in this particular situation, I believe she needs to um, relinquish her position and step down from her public service office. That's my overall prerogative, and I simply do not feel that she's qualified any longer to serve a very diverse public, a country that is consists of immigrants from all over the world. Okay, folks. So yeah, I just thought I make this podcast short and to the point because it's now starting to circulate in the marketplace as far as her agenda and her bill. And the more it, lingers in the marketplace, the more it's going to affect public trust. It's going to separate our society further. It's going to create a lot of tension in government service, may it be in public office or in the federal government labor force and our military. Okay, we have service members that no longer were not born in the U.S. and some of them might have children who they feel should serve the country as well, who weren't born in America but are citizens. So there are quite a bit of problematic, issues that will arise because of this bill. And as I mentioned in my video blog, I wish she had consulted with other decision makers prior to going public with her proposal, um, because it's so reckless to the point that it's funny if it wasn't real, because obviously this is going to be a major issue in the marketplace, given that we are in the midterms season. There's a lot of elections going on, and she basically threw more fuel in an already crazy and uncontrollable fire that needs to be put out because of the political climate in our country. So she made things even worse. With that said, folks, thank you so much for listening to my podcast. My name is Al Mina, concept author of Face Economics, the utilization of the social media platform in economic development. Thank you for your time. I look forward to speaking with you again, and I hope you have a wonderful summer. Take care. Bye bye.